What's going on, guys? It's your boy Gabe Tran, back at it again with another video. Not sure if that's gonna be my slogan. I'm still working on it. It rhymes, kind of. This past summer, I did a little bit of traveling. Visited multiple countries throughout Southeast Asia. Traveling for about 2.5 months or so, which is a pretty long time. To be honest, I didn't really do as much research as I should have. But by the end of the trip, I did learn a few tips and tricks that I would now pass on to you. So here are 7 tips on how to survive Southeast Asia. Tip number 1, cash is king. A lot of places in Southeast Asia is cash only. All the street vendors and all the stores at the marketplace, usually it's all cash only. Even if they do take card, they'll likely give you a better deal if you decide to pay in cash. There are multiple ways that you could obtain some cash. The smart way is to get it before you leave. All you gotta do is call up your bank and order some cash. Usually take a couple days for it to come in, and you just go to your bank and pick it up. This usually gives you the best exchange rate, and you'll have your cash on hand ready to go. But if you're lazy like me, you probably won't do that. Another way is to bring some dollars with you and exchange when you get to your destination. This is the most convenient way to do it, but usually the exchange rates at the airport aren't the greatest. Next option, you can actually exchange your money at local jewelry stores. Well, at least in Vietnam. Usually they'll give you a pretty good exchange rate. A lot better than at the airports. Sometimes even better than at the banks. Pro tip is to bring big bills with you. $50 bills and $100 bills, they'll usually have a better exchange rate. But if you don't have any cash on you, you can also withdraw from the ATMs using your credit card, your debit card, whatever card. Well, the card got money on it. There are a few things to know about ATMs though. One, it can be a little scary because usually ATMs are out on the street. You know, you don't know who's behind you or whatever, so always watch your back when you're withdrawing money. 2, there's usually a convenience fee, usually like $2 to $5. It's a small price to pay to know that your money is safe in your bank account and not in your backpack where someone can just rob you. And 3, watch out for ATMs that look like they've been tampered with. What I like to do is I always like to tug on the card reader real quick. If it's janky, don't stick your card in there. If someone's gonna be skimming your card and they're gonna take your info and everything, and you're gonna get robbed. Don't stick your card in sketchy holes. Don't do it. What I did was keep about 500 or so US dollars on hand for emergencies, and I just kept withdrawing from the ATM. I paid those convenience fees because a couple dollars just to know that your money is safe is worth it. Anyways, just always have cash. You're gonna need it. Tip number 2, download the Uber and Grab app on your phone. Most of you guys probably know what Uber is. Grab is actually pretty similar to Uber. It's an app you use to hail taxis. Uber and Grab is super cheap and is by far the easiest way to get around. You can either call a car, an 8-seater, or you can even ride on the back of a scooter. So if you're traveling solo, this is a great option. Scooters are way faster and they're usually about half the price. Besides being super cheap and super convenient, it is also the safest way to get around. There are a lot of taxi scams going on in Asia. Taxi drivers will try to scam you, especially if they know you're a tourist. With Uber and Grab, you're paying through the app. The drivers are reviewed and everything, so you're safe. And usually Uber drivers will speak English. But if you must hail a taxi, you have to make sure of 2 things. Either they're running the meter, or if they refuse to run the meter, make sure you guys agree on a set price before he drives off. A lot of times when there's really bad traffic or super late at night, they'll refuse to run the meter. Tip number 3, get yourself a travel SIM card. Although it's true that most parts of Asia, there's gonna be free Wi-Fi, I just personally think it's worth it just to buy yourself a SIM card with some unlimited data. Because a lot of times, you gotta go into the shop and ask them for the Wi-Fi password. Sometimes it's kind of spotty. You just don't want to deal with that, especially if you're lost or something. Get yourself a SIM card with some unlimited data and pay that little bit of extra money for calling services. It makes it a lot easier for you to call an Uber or a Grab. A lot of times the driver is going to want to call you to confirm where you are, but if you don't have calling, the call won't go through and sometimes they will just cancel your trip. And after the 5th or so cancel, you might start getting a little frustrated. You might resort to taking a taxi and then you might get scammed. Shit, you're going to lose your money. Just get the calling, okay? It's only a couple bucks more. Tip number 4, haggle, haggle, haggle. Especially if you're in the touristy areas, because they know you're an oblivious tourist and they know you got a little bit of money to spend and they're gonna exploit the hell out of that. So I'm gonna give you some pointers on how to haggle. 1, never offer them the first price. They're gonna try and ask you how much you want to pay for this. Don't fall for that trick, because once you give them that number, you already lost. You don't know how much that I Heart Vietnam tank top is worth. You might think it's $5, but it really only costs them 50 cents. Don't fall for the trap. Always make them give the first number. 2, a good rule of thumb is to offer them half of their asking price. It might seem like a little crazy, but really a lot of the times that's how much they mark up their prices. Last tip, if they just won't sell it to you for the price that you want, just simply walk away. And 9 times out of 10, they're gonna call you back and be like, no, yo, wait, yeah, I'll sell it to you. I'll sell it to you. Because they know, and you should know, that there's a bunch of other sellers out there selling the exact same thing. They want your money. They want it. And they're just trying their best to get the most out of you. It's just this game you gotta play. Some people might feel a little uncomfortable with haggling because like, oh, I got this money. Why shouldn't I just give it to them? By all means, if you got money to spare, all right, go ahead and pay the absurd amount they're asking for. But if you like me, you on a budget, haggling can really make your dollar stretch. For the most part, haggling is part of the culture. A lot of places welcome it. But with that being said, save your haggling for your souvenirs and other mass-produced goods. Don't try to haggle on food. You don't want to be like that one lady who tried to haggle for her cup of tea.
Why, Martin? Please, I'm sorry. You're scaring my son. Please.
There's really no point in haggling for food unless for some reason you think you're actually getting ripped off. At that point, I wouldn't even haggle. I'd just go eat somewhere else. Tip number 5, be careful of overly nice people. Southeast Asia, everybody got their hustle, and it just so happens that some of the people's hustle is to be hustling you. A lot of people just trying to make ends meet, some doing it in a little more scummy way. Here are a couple things to look out for to make sure you don't get scammed. 1, like I said earlier, be careful about overly nice people. I know there's some people who are genuinely nice, but if you feel like they're kind of a little bit too nice, you gotta wonder why they're being so nice to you. Usually that's a red flag. 2, if they approach you first, that's a red flag. They initiated communication with you. More than likely, they're trying to get something out of you. 3, if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. So don't fall for it. I almost did. There are nice people in this world, but ain't nobody that nice, all right? Tip number 6, drink only bottled water. It's not like here in the States where you can just drink straight from the tap. Something in the water's gonna get you sick. With that being said, you also gotta be careful about ice. You don't know if the ice was made with clean water. Most of the time they will use manufactured ice, but if you want to stay on the safe side, just stay away from ice altogether. Another thing to kind of be careful about is the alcohol you drink. A lot of times at the bars or the street vendors that sell alcohol, you'll see like a bottle of Patron right there and they're selling it for like $1 a drink. I mean, this goes back to the previous tip. If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. That ain't Patron in that bottle. That's some, I don't even know what that is. Just know that it ain't Patron.
I don't know if this is a good idea, but we're doing it.
It's a good idea. There's this bar that for 10 bucks, you get unlimited booze.
Word up!
Last drink of the night.
Lucky die.
You're not gonna die if you drink it, but you might get a really, really bad hangover. With all that being said though, I rinse my mouth with tap water when I brush my teeth. I've had drinks with ice in it, and I drank plenty of somewhat sketchy alcohol. Look at me. I'm okay. But, you know, that's a risk I took. Do I recommend you taking that risk? I don't know. That's up to you. For me, I wanted my ice cold drinks, okay? And last but definitely not least, tip number 7. Bring your poop pills. Just bring them. They're one of those things that you don't want to need, but when you do need them, you gonna want them. I don't care if you think you got a stomach of steel. If you're traveling for more than a week, you gonna have the shits sooner or later.
You guys both had diarrhea?
Yeah.
You guys both vomited?
Yeah, I vomited.
I did too last night.
We all caught something. We got the ladyboy disease. To get your poop pills, gotta check in with your doctor before you leave. Let them know that you're about to travel Southeast Asia. They'll probably recommend that you get your booster shots and your typhoid vaccine. And they're gonna prescribe you some pills, some antibacterial pills, and they're gonna give you some poop pills. Don't forget them at home. Make sure you got your poop pills. And thank me later. There is so much good and cheap food to eat. You just won't have the time to like worry about which ones is a little too sketchy to eat. You're gonna eat it all.
Christina's trying to eat some snail. Ghetto escargot. What? I have no idea what any of these are. Ugh. Ooh. It's like eating a little cherry curl. Interesting. I don't think I can do it. I can't do it.
It looks delicious, it smells delicious, you're gonna eat it. And that's okay. It'll be okay. As long as you have your poop pills. When it happens, take one, you'll wake up and you'll feel okay. Or you can play it the safe way and avoid all the street food altogether. But what's life if you don't live it on the edge? Live a little. You got poop pills. What's there to worry about? Bring your poop pills. Alright guys, those were my 7 tips on how to survive Southeast Asia. And I hope that video helped you guys out. I'm not saying this is all you need to know to travel Southeast Asia, but it is all you need to know to survive Southeast Asia. But if you don't, then my bad. I know there are plenty of other things that you still need to know, like what to pack, how to apply for visas, like where to stay. Do your due diligence. Fuck that word, I'm not even gonna use it. Do your research and figure out all the other nitty gritty details. But if these 7 tips is all you know, you're good. Gabe Tran taught you. You're gonna be alright. Just remember your poop pills. Anyways, like and subscribe, you know, do that stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next one.